I am happy to be here with my very good friend, Dawn Fry, who also, you're a special needs mama. You serve on our school board here in Putnam County in Tennessee, and you are an attorney. There's just so many things. You serve on our board at Rising Above. You have lots of roles you play. And so that's why I wanted to bring you into this conversation, because you come at special education and IEPs from, all the angles, as a parent, as an advocate, an attorney, on the school board, all the different areas. And so I think your perspective is going to bring such a beautiful piece to this whole conversation. And so, obviously your son, Austin, is part of why you're so passionate about special education. Tell us a little bit about him and why, being his mom made you want to be such an advocate and then serve on our school board in that capacity as well.
Sure. So I have twins, boy-girl twins, Sydney and Austin, and they will be 23.
Can't believe it.
I know. In July. And when Austin was 2.5, he was diagnosed with autism, and I knew nothing about that diagnosis or what that meant. So that started my journey on just, searching and finding answers for myself. And then, of course, once he turned 3 and then the whole school system thing came into play, I started learning about that. And as an attorney, I had no idea about, that body of law, the IDEA, none of that. But I learned, and it then just took me on a whole different path and purpose for being an attorney, because I had no idea that all that was out there. And then I just, wanted to start helping others know how to navigate that path as well. So, it was really a God thing. I really could see that was my purpose, why I'm an attorney, and why. Then I had Austin, and, it just all kind of started falling into place about what I was supposed to do.
What you were supposed to do. And you've done such a great job helping families along the journey, trying to figure out and navigate when problems come up. Because unfortunately, as much as we wish everything could just be perfect and there'd be no issues, there are going to be things that come up.
Yeah. And then I think too, when you start researching that for yourself and for your child, parents are very much taught over the internet or instructed over the internet or everything you read is always, you are going to have to fight. So it is you are already building yourself up for, the school system's always going to be against me. And I'm always going to have to battle them to get what my child needs. So you're already coming into it on the defensive from the very beginning. Because my first, his transition from his early intervention, the name's already escaped me, but anyway, his early intervention into the school system, I had a court reporter.
I love this story so much.
I had a court reporter. I ended up not bringing them, so it's okay. But I had a court reporter because I was ready, had my rolly bag, the whole thing.
Yeah, you were ready for the fight.
I was ready for the fight.
Right.
And it just did not end up being that way. Now, there were bumps in the road, but it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
And so what would you say to a family? They are in a school system, they are struggling, their needs, what has been agreed upon, the things that are agreed upon in the IEP, and the parent sees those things are not being met. What are some of the course of action that they can take? Like, what's the order that a family would need to go through to try to get that resolved?
Sure. So your IEP is, in essence, a contract with, between your child and you and the school and what they're going to provide to your child. And an IEP it has to be done yearly, but the thing about IEPs is, you can do them anytime. Anytime that you see, you can call an IEP meeting. Okay. So you're not stuck with an IEP.
It's not just stuck at that one time in the year. Right.
You're not stuck there. So if you find that your IEP is not being met, so for example, when Austin was elementary school, I found out that he was not getting the OT that he was supposed to get. So your first go-to, because we need to go through the chain.
Right, and that's what I'd love to know. What is that chain?
Yeah, so depending upon what the issue is, I would start with the teacher. Okay. Now, if the issue is with the teacher, you may have to bypass that one, right? But the next one that you would want to go to is the principal of the school, because ultimately the principal is responsible for ensuring that the IEP is being met in their building. Okay. So go to the principal. If that does not work, right, or that doesn't get resolved, you may have some others, like in Putnam County, we have consulting teachers, who are in our SPED program. I would say Putnam County goes there next, but then go to the SPED director, right? Go to the SPED director, present that to them. And then if it still is not resolved, you can go all the way to the director of schools. Okay. So just going up that chain is very important, because as a school board member, I get not just about SPED, but lots of things. People email or call and say, I've got this issue. And I'll say, well, have you spoken with the teacher? Have you spoken with the principal? No. No. They bypassed all of that.
I have to confess, I did that early on. I did that very thing early on because I didn't know.
Right. Right. And sometimes the issue is really just a misunderstanding. And you can think about it, it's your job. If you had made a mistake, would you want somebody going directly to your boss, or would you want to be able to try to correct it yourself and say, oh, no, wait, that's not really what happened, or I didn't realize that happened. I will correct that immediately.
Right.
So it just, gives everybody the opportunity to fix that.
So then at what point does a parent need to go beyond that? You've gone through all of those steps. You still are feeling like your needs are not being met. Do you go to an advocate? Do you go, what are some other things that families can do that, we want to keep things as positive as we can but we realize there are some families who are not everywhere is as helpful as where we are, the county that we're in. And so we realize that. So if you're in a space where your needs are still, after you've done all these things, what do you do next?
Well, you can do several things. You can there are advocates out there that do, that can help you mediate and advocate for your child in the school system. You can contact an attorney about, whatever the issue is. And there are, there's due process. There's lots of different things that can be done. There is a way to file on the State Department of Education yourself, without an attorney, without anything. You can file a complaint with them about something that's going on in your school. So if the entire process in-house in the school system is not working, then the next step is probably going to be advocate or attorney.
So you have served in that role for families as well, not in our school system, obviously, because you're on the school board here, but how have you seen you as an advocate come in and help bring solutions to really difficult situations?
Sure. And let me just step back and just say the difference in an advocate and an attorney. Okay. So if you bring in an advocate, they probably are not the school system probably isn't going to need their attorney there. Okay. Because an advocate usually doesn't have a law degree, because you're not an advocate. Even though I advocate for people, I'm an attorney.
You're an attorney.
Okay. So if you bring in an attorney, the school system's going to want their attorney there.
Okay.
So don't ever go in thinking, surprise, I have an attorney, right? Because all that's going to happen is, okay, we can't have this meeting. We're going to have to reschedule. Nobody's got time for that. Right. So be upfront that you've got that. But as an attorney, most of the time, the cases that I have seen are just the communication just got lost somewhere between school system and but I mean, I have also seen where school system just wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. And sometimes you bring in an attorney and they figure out, wow, these parents are serious. So, and then that sort of spurs them to do what they're supposed to do. Unfortunately, I hate that happens, but it does.
But it does.
But it does.
So if you were talking directly to a parent who is in a situation, they feel like their needs are not being met. They feel like they were just, having to go in and fight. What's a way to shift it? What's a way to turn it into a positive situation? And then what would you tell them to do? When they've called that IEP meeting, what steps do they need to have? What do they need to have ready? Like when they come into that meeting, what do they need to have with them, and how can they advocate best for their child?
So if they're wanting to you're wanting to advocate, we're not talking about having an attorney there.
Right. We're just talking about the parent. The parent is trying to advocate. Yes.
So if if you're wanting to best advocate for your child, and this is just a little something that I always tell people to do because I think it just works, but bring a snack. Okay.
Yeah.
Bring something to share with everybody, right? Because because lots of times you'll have IEP meetings and the teachers and everybody at the table have missed lunch, right? So if you bring something to eat, it's just a good icebreaker, right? Everybody likes to have, a little something, and then that's your offering to the table,
Correct.
right? You come in. Always ask for a draft of the IEP. Okay, get that ahead of time. The school has to give you that. Now, the draft is just their thoughts. Okay. Some people want to complain that, a draft is, they've predetermined.
Set in stone.
Yeah, it's set in stone. That's what it's not.
Yeah.
That's just, we got to have somewhere to start. We can't just come into an IEP and blank.
Right.
And say, okay, what are we going to do? We'll be here till this time next week.
Right.
So get your draft IEP, make notes, go through it. What goals are they suggesting? Where do they say your child is, what they can or cannot do? There is a portion on the IEP where you as a parent can say, what your thoughts. So be sure you have that prepared. What are your concerns? What do you want for your child? What do you see the next year looking like? Go in try to be as open-minded as possible, right? I have gone in, well, I'll give an example. In kindergarten, I went in with, this is what we're doing, right? And I was dead set on it.
Yeah.
And I got what I wanted, and then it ended up not being all that. So that taught me pretty quickly, let's listen. And then there was a year that the school suggested, let's do this. And I said, okay. Halfway through the year, I went to our consulting teacher and said, this is not working.
Right.
And she said, okay, I'm sorry, let's try something else. I said, okay, let's try something else. So you just don't really know, right? Because I think as parents, we are always set to protect. So we do tend to want to hold back and not let our kids do quite as much as they could do, right? So be open-minded as to what other ideas are and be willing to hear that and see, or if you need to go see a classroom, ask to do that.
And the thing I think a lot of people, I didn't know this till you taught me this. You're in that meeting. If you don't agree with what is there, you do not have to sign that day.
Yes.
So you can take a minute and step back.
Yeah, you can take a minute. Now you can't take forever.
Right.
Because if you wait more than 10 days, they're going to put it into effect without you. But if you can, say, I don't want to sign this today. I need overnight, just to think about this and to process that. Or if you do sign it and then, a month later again,
you can come back to the table.
We'll come back to the table and we'll come up with something else.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Dawn, thank you so much. I love the different perspective that you have because you do come at it from so many angles, and just grateful for you. So thank you.
I'm happy to talk about it anytime.